For as long as he could remember, Jamal Carter had carried a vision in his heart, a home of his own, a sanctuary carved out of years of grit and determination. At 38, after climbing the ranks from a warehouse worker to a regional logistics manager, he'd finally made it happen. The house stood proudly in Willow Creek, a picturesque gated community in North Carolina, with its white picket fences, manicured lawns, and tree-lined streets. It was a 3-story craftsman-style beauty, with wide windows that caught the morning sun and a porch swing that creaked softly in the breeze. Jamal had spent months searching for the perfect place, and when he closed the deal, he felt a weight lift off his shoulders, a weight he hadn't even realized he'd been carrying. The move-in day was a blur of excitement and exhaustion. Jamal hauled boxes alongside his younger sister, Aisha, who'd driven up from Charlotte to help. The air smelled of fresh paint and possibility as they unpacked dishes, hung framed photos of their late parents, and debated where to place the leather sofa he'd splurged on. By dusk, the house was starting to feel like home. Jamal stood on the porch, hands on his hips, watching the sunset paint the sky in hues of orange and pink. This was it, his fresh start. But the peace didn't last long. The next morning, as Jamal sipped coffee in his kitchen, he noticed a woman standing at the edge of his driveway. She was in her late 50s, with a sleek blonde bob and a navy blazer that screamed authority. A clipboard rested in her arms, and her sharp green eyes scanned his property like a hawk sizing up prey. Jamal set his mug down and stepped outside, offering a friendly wave. "Good morning," he called, stepping off the porch. "Can I help you with something?" The woman didn't smile. She strode forward, her heels clicking against the pavement, and stopped a few feet away. "I'm Evelyn Harper," she said, her voice crisp and clipped. "President of the Willow Creek Homeowners Association. I assume you're the new resident?" "Jamal Carter," he replied, extending a hand. "Just moved in yesterday." "Nice to meet you." Evelyn ignored his hand, her gaze flickering to the moving boxes still stacked by the garage. "I see," she said, jotting something on her clipboard. "Well, Mr. Carter, I'm here to ensure you're aware of our community standards. Willow Creek prides itself on uniformity and order. I'll need you to review these." She thrust a thick packet of papers toward him, HOA rules, no doubt. Jamal took the packet, keeping his tone light. "Thanks, I'll give them a read. Anything specific I should know right off the bat?" Evelyn's lips pressed into a thin line. "For starters, those boxes need to be out of sight by tonight. We don't allow clutter in the driveways. And that truck," she gestured toward the rental van parked curbside, "it's an eyesore. It needs to be gone." "It's leaving this afternoon," Jamal said, his smile tightening. "I'm still settling in." "See that it does," she replied, her tone icy. "And one more thing, your basketball hoop." She pointed to the portable hoop he'd set up near the garage for his nephew's visits. "It's not approved. You'll need to submit a request form and wait for board approval. Until then, it comes down." Jamal raised an eyebrow. He'd seen hoops on other driveways during his house hunt, but he didn't argue. "Got it. I'll look into the form." Evelyn nodded curtly and turned to leave, but not before casting one last glance over her shoulder, a look that lingered too long, sharp and assessing. Jamal watched her go, unease settling in his gut. He'd dealt with people like her before, folks who wielded petty power like a weapon. But he shook it off. He wasn't here to fight battles, he was here to build a life. The next few days tested that resolve. Notices began appearing in his mailbox, warnings about the hoop, still up while he waited for the form, a complaint about his trash cans being improperly aligned, even a note about the wind chimes Aisha had hung on the porch, claiming they violated noise regulations. Jamal complied where he could, filing requests and adjusting bins, but the letters kept coming. Each one bore Evelyn's signature, her neat cursive a constant reminder of her scrutiny. By the end of the week, he'd had enough. He took a walk through Willow Creek, notepad in hand, and what he saw confirmed his suspicions. Half the houses had wind chimes tinkling in the breeze. Basketball hoops dotted driveways, some rusted and tilting. One yard even had a flamingo statue that clashed with every rule in the book. Yet his mailbox was the only one stuffed with violations. This wasn't about rules, it was about him. That night, as he sat at his kitchen table reviewing the latest notice, this one about his car's unauthorized parking spot in his own driveway, his phone buzzed. It was Aisha. "How's the dream house?" she asked, her voice teasing. "More like a nightmare," he muttered, filling her in on Evelyn's campaign. Aisha laughed, then grew serious. "She's testing you, Jamal. Don't let her win." "I won't," he said, resolve hardening. "But I'm not playing her game either. I'm figuring this out my way." The next morning, Evelyn was back. She stood on his porch, arms crossed, a new document in hand. "Mr. Carter," she began, her voice dripping with false courtesy, "we've received concerns from residents. They've noticed activity. Late-night visitors, moving trucks at odd hours. Some suspect you're not the rightful owner here." Jamal's jaw tightened. "I bought this house fair and square. You can check the deed." "I'd prefer you provide proof directly," she said, handing him the paper, a formal demand for documentation. Failure to comply could result in further action. He took the paper, meeting her gaze. "You'll get your proof. But this stops here." Evelyn's smile was cold. "We'll see." As she walked away, Jamal knew this was more than a petty HOA feud. Evelyn wanted him gone, and she'd escalate until she got her way, or so she thought. What she didn't know was that Jamal had a secret up his sleeve, one that would turn her world upside down. He wasn't just a homeowner in Willow Creek. He was something far more powerful, and Evelyn was about to find out. Jamal didn't waste time. After Evelyn's latest stunt, he dug into the HOA bylaws, poring over every line until his eyes burned. He wasn't a lawyer, but he'd learned a thing or two about standing his ground over the years. The rules were strict, almost comically so, but they were also vague enough to bend. Evelyn's notices, though, didn't even align with the text half the time. The basketball hoop rule required approval, sure, but nothing banned wind chimes outright. The parking complaint? Pure fiction. She was making it up as she went, banking on him folding under pressure. He wasn't folding. Instead, he called Marcus, his oldest friend and a real estate whiz who'd helped him snag the Willow Creek house. "I need intel," Jamal said, pacing his living room. "This HOA president's coming for me, and I'm not sure why." Marcus chuckled. "You stepped into a hornet's nest, man. Gated communities like that? They're territorial. Give me a day, I'll dig up what I can on her." While Marcus worked, Jamal kept his routine steady. He mowed the lawn to the exact inch, stored his bins out of sight, even took down the wind chimes to avoid giving Evelyn ammo. But the notices didn't stop. One claimed his porch light was too modern for the neighborhood aesthetic. Another flagged his mailbox for being slightly off-center. It was absurd, but Jamal stayed calm, documenting every infraction with photos and timestamps. If Evelyn wanted a war, he'd fight with evidence. Marcus called back the next evening. "Evelyn Harper's a piece of work," he said, voice low. "Been HOA president for a decade. Rules with an iron fist, finds people into submission, even drove a couple families out. But here's the kicker, her house at 112 Magnolia Lane. It's been in foreclosure proceedings for months. She's dodging payments, stalling the bank. Word is, she's desperate to keep her status intact." Jamal leaned back, gears turning. "Foreclosure? How's she still living there?" "Legal loopholes," Marcus said. "She's got a lawyer buddy stalling the process. But the property's already hit the auction block, quietly. Nobody in Willow Creek knows. A grin spread across Jamal's face. Nobody, huh? Keep this between us. I've got an idea. He hung up and pulled out his laptop. A quick search confirmed Marcus's intel. 112 Magnolia Lane had been auctioned off 2 weeks ago, part of a bundled sale Jamal had unknowingly bid on through a real estate trust he'd set up years back. He'd been buying distressed properties as an investment, letting his accountant handle the details. Now, he owned Evelyn's house, and she had no clue. The revelation lit a fire in him. This wasn't just about survival anymore, it was about justice. But he wouldn't reveal his hand yet. First, he'd let Evelyn dig her own grave. The next day, she escalated. A certified letter arrived, accusing Jamal of fraudulent occupancy, and demanding he vacate within 30 days or face legal action. It cited anonymous resident complaints and his failure to verify ownership. Jamal laughed out loud. It was bold, even for her. He called Marcus again. She's trying to evict me. Time to lawyer up? Nah, Marcus said. Play it smart. Show up to the next HOA meeting with the deed to your place, and hers. Let her choke on it in front of everyone. Jamal liked that plan. He spent the next week preparing, gathering documents and rallying quiet support. He knocked on a few neighbors' doors, folks he'd seen watching from afar. Most were hesitant, but a retired teacher named Clara opened up. Evelyn's a tyrant, she whispered over tea. Fine me $200 for planting roses without permission. We're all scared of her. Help me stop her, Jamal said. Spread the word, HOA meeting, next Thursday. Big news. Clara nodded, eyes gleaming. I'll tell the others. Thursday arrived, and the community center was packed. Evelyn sat at the front, flanked by her bored cronies, radiating smug confidence. Jamal took a seat in the back, his folder of papers tucked under his arm. When Evelyn called the meeting to order, she launched into her attack. We're here to discuss Mr. Carter's violations, she said, voice ringing out. His refusal to comply threatens our community's integrity. I move we proceed with eviction proceedings. Murmurs rippled through the crowd. Jamal stood, raising a hand. I've got something to say. Evelyn's eyes narrowed. You'll wait your turn. No, he cut in, stepping forward. This can't wait. He held up his deed. This proves I own 108 Willow Lane. Legally. Fully. No fraud here. The room buzzed. Evelyn waved a dismissive hand. That's irrelevant until verified. And this, Jamal continued, pulling out another paper, is the deed to 112 Magnolia Lane. Your house, Evelyn. Bought it at auction 2 weeks ago. Silence fell, thick and heavy. Evelyn's face went white. That's preposterous. Check the records, Jamal said, tossing copies into the crowd. Foreclosure caught up with you. I'm your landlord now. Gasps erupted. Evelyn sputtered, but the damage was done. The room turned on her, whispers growing into demands for answers. Jamal sat back, watching her empire crumble, knowing this was just the beginning. Evelyn's reign unraveled faster than Jamal expected. The HOA meeting ended in chaos, residents shouting questions, board members scrambling to distance themselves, and Evelyn storming out, her clipboard abandoned on the table. Jamal didn't gloat. He stayed quiet, letting the truth do the work. By morning, Willow Creek was abuzz with the news. The untouchable HOA president was a squatter in her own home, and the man she'd targeted owned her fate. She didn't back down, though. 2 days later, a process server arrived at Jamal's door with a lawsuit, Evelyn claiming the auction was fraudulent and demanding her property back. It was a desperate move, and Jamal was ready. He called his attorney, Lisa Tran, a no-nonsense litigator who thrived on cases like this. She's got nothing, Lisa said, reviewing the filing. We'll bury her in court if she pushes this. But let's hit back first, file a counterclaim for harassment and defamation. Jamal agreed. He wasn't just defending his home anymore, he was dismantling Evelyn's power. The counterclaim detailed every baseless notice, the eviction attempt, and the emotional toll of her vendetta. Lisa added a twist, a request for punitive damages, arguing Evelyn's actions were racially motivated. We can't prove intent, she admitted, but the pattern's damning. Let's see how she explains it. While Lisa prepped the legal salvo, Jamal turned to the community. Clara organized they brainstormed, forming a slate to challenge Evelyn's cronies at the next election. Jamal offered his garage as a campaign hub, printing flyers and hosting strategy sessions. Word spread, and support grew. Evelyn's allies tried to counter, spreading rumors about Jamal's hostile takeover, but the deeds in his hand were hard to argue with. The lawsuit hearing came a month later. Evelyn sat across the courtroom, her lawyer spinning a tale of clerical errors in the foreclosure. Lisa dismantled it in 10 minutes, presenting bank records and auction logs. When Jamal took the stand, he kept it simple: I bought my house to live in peace. She turned it into a war. Now I own hers too, fair and square. The judge ruled in Jamal's favor, dismissing Evelyn's claim and greenlighting the counterclaim for trial. Outside, reporters swarmed, local news had caught wind of the story. Jamal gave a brief statement: this isn't about revenge. It's about right and wrong. Back in Willow Creek, Evelyn's grip slipped further. The HOA election saw her board ousted, replaced by Clara, Tom, and a young mom named Priya. Evelyn stayed in her house. Jamal hadn't evicted her yet, but she was a ghost, blinds drawn, car unmoving. He sent her a letter offering a lease, pay rent or leave. She didn't respond. One night, Aisha visited, marveling at the change. You turned this place around, she said, sipping wine on the porch. Not alone, Jamal replied. And it's not over. I've got plans. He did. With Evelyn's house under his control, he saw an opportunity, not just to win, but to build something lasting. Months passed, and Willow Creek transformed. The new HOA board slashed fines, rewrote bylaws for fairness, and launched community events, potlucks, movie nights, even a basketball tournament using Jamal's hoop. He became a quiet leader, not by title but by example, hosting barbecues and mentoring kids who dribbled on his driveway. The neighborhood softened, fences lowering as trust grew. Evelyn stayed, paying rent begrudgingly. Jamal didn't push her out, he'd won enough. Instead, he focused on his next move. The trust that owned her house held other properties too, and he had an idea: affordable rentals for folks like he'd once been, working-class dreamers priced out of places like Willow Creek. He partnered with Clara and Priya, turning 112 Magnolia Lane into a pilot project. They renovated it, keeping Evelyn as a tenant in a back unit, and leased the main house to a single mom named Keisha, who'd escaped an abusive past. The day Keisha moved in, Jamal handed her the keys. This is yours now, he said. No HOA nonsense, just a home. Tears welled in her eyes. How do you afford this? By flipping the script, he grinned. The project grew. Jamal sold his logistics job's stock options, funneling the cash into more properties. Aisha joined, managing tenants, while Marcus scouted deals. They called it Carter Homes, a legacy born from a fight he'd never wanted. Willow Creek became a model, its story spreading nationally. Reporters dubbed Jamal the landlord who fought back, but he waved off the hype. It's not about me, he'd say. It's about us. One spring evening, as kids played in his yard and neighbors chatted over lemonade, Evelyn appeared. She stood at the edge of his lawn, hands clasped, looking smaller than he remembered. Jamal, she said, voice soft. Can we talk? He nodded, stepping aside. She hesitated, then spoke. I was wrong. About you, about everything. I thought I was protecting this place, but I was just scared. Of change. Of losing control. He studied her, seeing not the tyrant but a woman humbled. We all get scared, he said. What matters is what you do next. She nodded, eyes downcast. I'm leaving. Found a place downtown. You won't hear from me again. You don't have to go, he offered. Stay, be part of this. She shook her head. No. It's time. She turned, then paused. You're a better man than I deserved. He watched her go, feeling not triumph but closure. That night, he sat on his porch swing, the breeze carrying laughter from the street. Aisha joined him, nudging his shoulder. Proud of you, big brother. Proud of us, he corrected. Willow Creek wasn't just his home now, it was a testament to what resilience could build. And as the stars blinked on, Jamal knew this was only the beginning.